Welcome to the Simply Authentic podcast, where we hope to embolden you with discipline, personal growth, and abundance to live your most authentic life. Welcome back to the Simply Authentic podcast. I'm Tanya Murfin.
And I'm Angie Mullings, and we have a guest in studio. We're very excited to have Janie Gabris with us. She is the owner of Precision Wellness. She is also a certified yoga instructor and licensed massage therapist. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. We're excited about this.
Yeah,
Me too.
I hope that we're going to cover a lot of things that people don't really know that much about, and maybe debunk some myths and that kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. How did you get into this line of work? And how long have you been doing it? Just tell us a little bit about that.
That's a good question. I'll try to give you the abridged version. So my first educational path was music education and music performance. So I played the flute, and I went to college and did all that. And so a fun fact, did you know that no one's going to pay you to play the flute? Like that's not a career.
No, I've never heard that.
That's not a thing. So I had to very quickly figure out what I wanted to do. And at the time I was working full time at a restaurant, and I knew I didn't want to do that. So I started researching a little bit about music therapy. So again, a bridge version, music therapy is really cool because it's about creating new neural pathways. So the best example of that is like the King's Speech, where they used a song to circumnavigate his stutter.
Yes.
And so use that's the very earliest form of music therapy. Okay. So carving out a different neural pathway to create a similar task. So singing is similar to speaking,
right?
But it's different. It's a different pathway. So hijacking that pathway for speech to get rid of a stutter. And so they found that very similar things as a young kid that had a lot of trouble, like maybe holding a pencil in class, could hold a drumstick for a significantly longer period of time. And so music therapy kind of grew out of that premise. And so when I was graduating, it was still very new. There wasn't a lot of research and there weren't a lot of programs to do that. So I thought, you know what I should do? I should just go to something that could get me like a foundation, and then maybe I can grow off of that. And so I enrolled at PMTC. It was Commercial Street at the time in 2010, and for massage therapy school.
Okay.
It was a 900-hour program, so it took about a year. I came out with a clinical license, so I did all of the coursework for neuromuscular massage or precision neuromuscular massage, and I actually ended up falling in love with it and never never took the next step because it was just such an amazing journey. I suffered from migraines my whole childhood. And so when I was receiving massage, my migraines went from like 2 or 3 times a week to maybe once every 2 weeks to once a month, to the more I got massage, then it was like maybe once every 3 months. And then now, like, I almost never get, as an adult, I almost never get headaches because I get continual body work, and it was a lifelong struggle since I was 11.
Interesting.
So I just was like, yep, I'm sold.
Yeah.
So that's 14 years of being a massage therapist, and I bought the business that I worked for, my second job, so I bought that company, and then I've just been growing it as Precision Wellness. So I changed the name, changed locations, and just started growing that business, and now I have 11 treatment rooms, a huge staff, and then the yoga studio is new within the last 2 years. So that's our new passion. I got certified for yoga a little over 2 years ago, and I've been just kind of pouring myself into that because it informs with massage. It's the exercise portion of the body work. So
Yeah. That's fascinating. So I want to talk about massage. Let's start with massage therapy. I want to talk about a lot of things that you offer at Precision Wellness, but starting with massage therapy, I think a lot of people, when they hear the word massage, they're like this fluffy, feel good kind of, but there's so much therapeutic benefit to it. So can you talk about that?
Yes. Okay. So my favorite thing is even your relaxation massage has such intense therapeutic benefit because of how our lives are designed these days. We're in these high stress, constant sensory input. So just being able to take an hour and a half to just bring our nervous system back to a state of regulation. And so that's kind of the idea of relaxation massage, is that your nervous system is kind of like overwhelmed and overstimulated, and using the power of therapeutic touch or relaxation, we can bring that down, and you can reduce your cortisol levels, you can get better sleep, better eating habits, you're more like in your own body instead of like worried about everything else. And so that's the very foundation of the work. But then like I have a huge background in like pain management.
Okay.
So my first leg was the precision neuromuscular, which is basically you have a headache. I work to figure out what's causing the headache, and we do a series of treatments to get the muscles to relax, so that if it is muscular in nature, we can kind of like reset that and like cause the headaches to go away. Or whiplash. I deal a lot with people who have had whiplash. My personal big like what built my career was my TMJ work. So TMJ dysfunction, we hear a lot about that, the jaw dysfunction.
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of people getting like braces or like a lot of dental work to fix that. A lot of times it's a dysfunction of the muscles in the jaw. So we work the exterior, and then I put on gloves and I actually do intraoral therapy to release the muscles of the jaw to prevent grinding, headaches, and shoulder pain and neck pain that are actually involved in that issue.
Okay.
So I have a huge amount of continuing education in that like lane. So that's the beautiful thing about massage. It can just kind of like, there's just so many modalities and so much out there. It's such a diverse industry. And that's the beautiful thing about my office, is that all of my people, so the other one is post-operative lymph drainage. So a great example is, so anybody who's had any kind of like cosmetic surgery, or even not even cosmetic because you want it, but like a mastectomy, you get sometimes that really intense edema. So a lot of times we work with some doctors to help patients after they're cleared to move that lymph and reduce that edema. And so we have 2 therapists that are actually certified in post-operative lymphatic drainage, and we work with doctors in a really good relationship to help those patients.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of applications. So it's I could go on
So
for
many.
days about all the everything we could offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've talked about the benefits of massage and taught me several things there that I didn't know. Tell us about the benefits of yoga and then the benefits of meditation. And I want you to explain meditation, because I am one person in this world that has never done it.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know what it involves. I have this picture in my mind that...
Like you're sitting, floating on a cloud.
Yes.
Yeah.
and how would I ever get there? Now, I do yoga, so and that has taught me how to quiet my mind. I'm assuming it's similar, but tell us about those 2 practices.
Okay, so I'll start with the easy one. I'll start with yoga first. The practice of yoga is really amazing because it works on both your flexibility, or I say both, multiple kind of pieces. Flexibility is what we all know yoga for. Like, I'm going to do yoga because I want to touch my toes. Strength, so that's kind of like a little hidden thing that people don't focus on enough. And that's something that I really like work on, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then breath work. So you can look at it from a scientific standpoint or a meditation standpoint. Breath with movement, like intentional breath, improves your VO2 max. So the amount of oxygen that your body can take in, and then how long you can function. So like athletes doing yoga, or athletes want to improve their VO2 max because it gives them longer stretches of endurance. And so the practice of breath work, so the breath to movement, it will improve that significantly. So there's like a lot of, and then from the more mindful standpoint is that the breath to movement helps quiet the mind. It like just breathing like brings oxygen into your body. So like it feeds your body, it feeds your muscles. Like our bloodstream fills with the oxygen, goes to our muscles, it transfers it, and then comes back the CO2, and then we breathe it out. Like we all basic biology. So the breath is important, and consistent breath and good breath is really important. And so we learn to breathe with our whole lungs. So getting good breaths. So we're not getting that top breath where it causes that kind of tension and like pain and like nerve compression. You'll see that a lot with arm pain. So you learn to breathe. So you learn to breathe better with your body. So you're less likely to have pain associated with breath and that general movement. And so yoga, that breath to movement, and then that's really amazing. And then the strength portion. So I'll try to explain this. Like I always have a really hard time with this, so I really apologize. We all really focus on flexibility with yoga, and we always forget the strength portion. So we get really, really excited about the fact that we can touch our toes, but we don't think about what we're doing while we are touching our toes. Does that make any sense? Like, so when you lean forward and you touch your toes, you want actual muscle engagement. So when one muscle lengthens, another muscle has to be contracting to cause that muscle to lengthen, because our muscles don't lengthen on our own. So it's a push and pull system. So a set of muscles has to contract to lengthen a muscle, and then this muscle has to contract to lengthen that muscle. So if we have weakness, we have lack of flexibility, because this muscle can only lengthen as far as this muscle can contract, right? So the key component is not stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching and like pulling yourself into knots and like loosening the ligaments all the time. A lot of the times, the very foundational bit of flexibility is strengthening the opposing muscles so that muscle has the strength to lengthen and support the other muscle. And so we forget that our system is like, it's not an open system, it's a closed system. Everything's connected. So every time there's slack, something has to shorten. Every time something shortens, something has to slack. And so that's kind of how our body, and so that's a big part of yoga, moving in different planes and getting that strength in different planes and different areas so that your body can support itself without pain, and you can build that strength that you may be missing that will lead to improved flexibility.
Gotcha.
Was that just way too much?
No,
I'm so sorry. Deep
No,
breath.
it was really good. Yes. We practice our breathing right here. But I gotta stop you, and I gotta ask a few questions.
Okay,
so, first of all, let's talk about breathing and breath work, because you hear so much about that. And when you were describing that, I'm thinking, I'm doing breath work wrong, because I wonder. So, if you're doing a yoga class or whatever, and they say, take a big inhale in, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm out at 4. Like I can't. So I'm not breathing probably deep enough.
Yes.
Can you train someone to do that?
So the first very key step is exhaling all the way. So I always tell people, imagine pressing all of the oxygen out of the bottom of your feet. So when you exhale, we're just going to get rid of all of that air. And so you're completely empty. And then just sit there for like just a second to feel the emptiness. And then you breathe in, you feel the belly, you feel the ribs, you feel the chest. And then you feel that little bit of tension in your throat. And you're full.
Yes.
And then if you really are feeling sassy, one more fresh sip of air. And then you just slowly exhale. Throat, chest, rib cage, belly, all the way out through the bottom of your feet.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can kind of practice that. It doesn't have to be perfect. I've been doing yoga for a really long time. I've only been teaching it for a little over 2 years, but my breath work is still very messy.
Yeah. Well, and that's good to hear. I think that's good for our listeners to hear. You're not going to get it right on the first try or second try or whatever. But I really I notice when I'm doing yoga that when I will get tense. I'll get tense because I recognize it's because I'm not breathing fully, and so there's that. So that's good to know. The other thing I wanted to point out is that I think a lot of times when people go to yoga class, they're looking around the room and they're saying, "Oh wow, I want to be able to do that," and they push themselves beyond. One point to make about yoga is that it's so individual.
Yes. There is no yoga police. No one should come around and be like, you're doing yoga wrong. It is all about like what feels right for your body. And so in our studio, what I really like to do in my classes specifically, and I know other instructors, I like to go around and just ask like, hey, can I make some small adjustments and like just make some minor tweaks and like see if I can't get them to engage their muscles in like some light ways, in different ways, and get them into a pose. Maybe it's not as deep as they want to be,
Yeah.
but it's going to be in a more effective pose. And like 9 out of 10 times they're like, oh my gosh, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful because, again, yoga, one of the tenets of yoga, if you will, is like setting the ego aside. Like, it's not about everybody else. It's about your individual journey in your body, what works for you and where you are like right now.
Yeah.
We need to worry less about like we can set goals. Like, I want to be able to do that pose.
Right.
So let's find a way. Like, what do we need to strengthen? What flexibility do we need to find? What drills do we need to do? Like, is it a lack of core strength? Is there some tightness that we need? Is it like that shoulder where we can't like look over? Like, where is it? What's going on? And let's like find your path there. Like, it doesn't have to be super organized and perfect. It's just like, let's just find a way.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing yoga for a really long time, and I just did a headstand for like the first time the other day.
Wow.
Like, I was like so proud. I was like, oh, I did
Did it.
I did it. And I mean, like, and you see on Instagram people doing like crazy stuff all the time, and that's just not real yoga, guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's someone who's spent a lot of time making like the perfect video. Like, a lot of yoga is just falling in and out of poses, trying to figure out where your edge is so you can build strength.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
work.
think that is a great point for our listeners to take away, that first of all, you have to be wherever you are.
Yeah.
You have to and to know that yes, those people who are doing that, it's because they spent tons and tons of time to get that one shot right. But also that it's for anyone.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
You can start again from anywhere, and I don't care if you're 50, 60, 10, 15, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? I think yoga is somewhat intimidating to people because they don't know enough about it, and they think they've got to be really flexible before because they do focus on that flexibility side.
Yes. And actually, if you're already flexible, yoga can be super damaging if you're not focusing on the strength portion, because you're going to overstretch.
Okay.
So you're not going to build the strength that supports your joints and supports your body. You're just going to use that natural flexibility and just be like, yeah, I can fold myself in half. Yeah, I can do a back bend, but there's no like strength or foundation. And so that's why I'm always like, we always leave out this strength portion that is just so intensely important. I used to lift weights. Like, I was a weightlifter. I taught spin. I taught a weightlifting class. I taught a core class. I was like an intense and avid, like, I lifted. Like, I am stronger now only doing yoga and walking than I have ever been, and I am 40 years old. Like, like, I am stronger. I can do more. I can do more without pain. Like, it's amazing. Like, so like, just from a physical sense, like focusing on that strength is really important. And if you're new, like, there are classes that are perfect. So we've got a gentle yoga class that teaches you the poses. If you want that flexibility, we have a yin class, which is just long holds, like working on the pose and kind of refining. We have our restorative class that's one of our like most popular classes, that you are bolstered up with blocks and props, and like you kind of recline into this really passive gravity kind of fed stretch. And it's really great for that like relaxation, like central nervous system reset, that somatic kind of reset, where you just are like, and gravity just pulls you into it, but it's not uncomfortable. It's just really supported and feels really good.
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of classes that like are out there to help people like learn the yoga journey. And our staff is amazing. Like, all of our yoga teachers, if you're like, I'm just nervous, we're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Come with me.
Yeah.
I want to show you all the things and get you excited about it and like help you, and like you've got questions, I got answers. I don't mean to overwhelm you. You can tell me to go away, but I'm just so excited for you.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have classes to meet any need.
Yes.
Beginner, advanced, whatever.
Yes.
What benefits are there to hot yoga?
So hot yoga, I love hot yoga. So I want to preface that, like, I do hot yoga, so I don't want anybody coming at me for my the statements that follow. Know that I love me some good hot yoga. Hot yoga is really great for rigid body types like myself. Okay. So I am what I would describe as I'm not naturally flexible. Yeah. I really have always struggled with flexibility. So the heat, with my foundational knowledge of stretch and strength, helps me get deeper into a pose. So what the hot yoga heat from the hot yoga does is it of course softens the muscles. It feels good, right? I'm trying to get not too sciencey. So every single muscle in our body is wrapped in fascia. So fascia is kind of the buzzword in like my universe right now, and in the yoga universe. Fascia is that, if you've ever pulled out a chicken breast, that white stuff,
Right.
that's fascia.
Yeah.
And so it wraps every organ and every muscle, and it's its own connective tissue. So it can get tight, it can bound up, and it liquefies with heat and movement.
Okay.
So it softens or gets oily, and it's kind of the lubricant between muscles. So as they slide, so if it's sticky and tight, things won't move properly. So when treating fascia, but what the hot does, or the infrared heat, is it softens that. It creates a warm environment where the muscles are able to move and that fascia stretches, and you can move further into a stretch or do more or go deeper than you traditionally normally would. And so that's the benefit of hot yoga. And the infrared heat has a whole bunch of other like fringe benefits. Like they say that it helps you burn calories for longer, and you get that really good sweat, so it's good for your skin. There's like lots of like cool little like fringe benefits to it. But the big one from the yoga standpoint, the actual work that you're doing, is that. But that's also why you have to be super duper careful, is because you can overstretch. And it's happened to me, and it's just because I wasn't paying attention, and it's my bad and nobody else's, is I overdid it, and then I lost all of that flexibility because it's like it slingshotted me back. And because I wasn't being mindful of like what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, I can go. I've never been able to do this before. I'm in this pose that I've never been able to do, and I was so excited and so in my own ego, and then I paid for it.
Yeah.
So I love hot yoga for like the benefits that it has, but I really like pairing it with the non-heated studio because I'm not as likely to like hurt myself because I get stuck in my own ego.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you done hot yoga,
Yes.
Tanya? Okay.
In fact, that's my preference,
Yes.
to do it hot versus not.
Yes.
But I've done more hot than not, so I don't know that I have the same experience, you know?
Right. Oh, and I do have a question for you. Do you do the hot because you think it's harder and you're getting a better workout?
Maybe.
Or what's the I've been trying to
Maybe.
figure,
Maybe because the number of regular non-hot yoga classes I've taken, I could tell you on one hand. So probably I have in my head that the hot works me out better. I sweat more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you sweat more, you feel like you've worked out better.
Correct.
I do feel like I'm more stretchy in hot versus on my floor at home just doing regular yoga.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and there is a big difference between doing the non-heated at home and then going to a studio where you're like in a guided class. So we've kind of, with our studio, one of the things we focused on is a lot of the non-hot studios focus more on like gentle and like slower and softer flows. We've split it down the middle.
Yeah.
So we have some like really spicy, super duper hard classes.
Right.
And we want to kind of open that conversation to like, the non-heated can be really hard.
Right.
And we can guide you, because of the size of our studio, we can guide you to your goals like individually. Like your teacher can help you, can come to your teacher and be like, today I want to work on handstands. And they could be like, yeah, let's go. This is a hard class. I think we're all there. Let's do the prep work and the drills to get there.
Right.
And so we're trying to change the kind of the conversation where like the heated studio is hard, but the non-heated studio serves its purpose and can be really super hard too.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot more options for hot yoga, like more studios are doing that. I think it's more difficult to find studios that aren't. I will tell you that I don't enjoy hot simply because I don't like the heat. I don't, again, obviously I haven't been breathing right, so that probably doesn't help. And I'm not breathing right, and I'm hot, and me in the heat, extreme heat, just doesn't, when I'm working out, just doesn't work well for me.
Yes.
So, but I do know that running through sun salutations and different things, I mean, your movement can really get your heart rate up.
Yes.
So yeah, that's probably another thing that people think about yoga, is that it is just more relaxing, more stretching, more, but they recommend yoga for women who are older and they don't want to lift weights. I mean,
Yep.
just resistance of your own body weight
Yeah.
and that kind of thing that you do in yoga is so beneficial health wise for strength training.
And the balance. So
Yes.
the reason I look so scrubby and I'm in my yoga is I just taught a yoga class. But like one of my students was like, I was able to balance on one foot and put my pants on today.
Yeah.
Because we've been working on balance in this particular class. We've been doing balance and core drills like
Okay.
over and over and over for the last few weeks because that's what the class has requested. So that's what I've been packing in is these more opening balance strength based poses, and we've been holding them for long periods of time and refining them. And so this is precision strong. So it's the class that's designed to build strength.
Gotcha.
And so they were like, oh my gosh, like I thought you were just kicking my butt, but I now can go home and I can stand on one foot and put I've not been able to do that for years because of an injury, and now I can do that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so again, I think that also highlights that this person had struggles, came to a more advanced class, was supported, and then was successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like, to me, that's like a big giant win.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's move to meditation.
Yes.
So for someone like me, explain why that would be good for me
So
and
meditation.
how I would get there.
Oh, yes. So meditation is a lot simpler than people like to think it is. It's not the absence of thought. So that's where we all want to start is like, okay, I need to clear my mind, float on a cloud. And that's not what it is. It is being able to recognize our thoughts and then put them in the bucket where they belong. So instead of it being this big, tangly, squirrely mess in our minds, we close our eyes, we check in with ourselves, and as the thoughts come to us, we breathe in, we acknowledge what that thought is, and then we set it in the bucket where it belongs. So maybe it's the for later bucket, or the that's not a helpful thought, that's negative self-talk that doesn't serve me. I'm just going to like send that away. So you use your breath, you acknowledge that it's a part of you because our thoughts are a part of us. So it's a very helpful like kind of mental health exercise. Like I am who I am my thoughts, they are a part of me regardless of how I feel about them. I can breathe, acknowledge them, and then I can mindfully place them where they need to be. And so that's kind of where meditation starts for the common person. It doesn't have to be this big complicated exercise. You don't have to have a candle and stare at it. They're all tools, but these are not things that you have to do. It can be very simple, where it's just simply closing your eyes with your cup of coffee in the morning, taking a few deep breaths, and just sorting your thoughts out as they come, using your breath, breathing into those thoughts, and then mindfully setting them where they go. Just a nice in and out. Just nothing too complicated, nothing too terrible, just in a comfortable space. And you do that just a few minutes or a few seconds a day, you'll find that you, throughout your day now, if something big comes up that you're not expecting, that sends a lot of those thoughts or those feelings towards you, you can take a second, you can take a beat, and you can regulate using the same meditation skills. Because it's about setting up your skill set. So not only does it help you in the moment sort through your thoughts and your maybe even just physical discomfort, but it becomes a skill that you can translate throughout the whole entire day in small bites. So like my kids, I love my kids, but I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and sometimes they want to climb all over me and be just very chaotic because they're two boys and I love them. And as they're pulling my hair, instead of being like, get off me, I can just breathe and use the tools and like calm myself and like be more present in the moment to like be there for them instead of so in my thoughts or frustration. So
Sounds like to me that we all should be taught this in grade school and then high school before we go out into the world and don't know how to deal with our emotions and our thoughts, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is something that sounds like you simplified it so much that I'm sitting here thinking, I already do this, right?
Yeah.
I do this
Yes.
when I'm maybe out walking. I might not be sitting still.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm practicing a form of it by getting my thoughts in order and putting them where they're supposed to be and trying to calm myself from not worrying about this thing today.
Yeah.
Because I can't change what's happening with it today.
Today, yes.
Okay, well, I appreciate that explanation. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've pictured myself sitting in a room chanting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And-
And I think that's what a lot of people
Yeah.
think of it as.
It
Yeah.
can evolve to that. I mean, it's
Certainly.
just like anything else. Like,
Sure.
then you can add layers as it suits what you need or want from it,
Right.
right? But everybody can start from this really beautiful foundational spot of just regulating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I like that.
It's not the absence of thought; it's the ability to mindfully organize our thoughts, or just the ability to have some sense of control over our thoughts. Like,
Yes.
we are our thoughts, so why do they have to? Ooh, throw in my jewelry. Why do they have to kind of be so in control of us sometimes?
Yeah.
Like, we can just breathe into them,
Yeah.
recognize them for what they are, and then set them where they need to be.
Right.
Or
right.
like set a goal. Be like, man, today I have to do these things. Okay, I know I have to do those things, so this is the goal that I'm going to breathe into that, and then I'm going to set that in the do today bucket. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So much there. So much.
What
So-
about? Go ahead.
Okay, well, so first of all, if you haven't read the book, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, you should read that because she talks about that very thing, about how in order to attack some things, we need to breathe into it. It's counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and at the same time you're breathing into that, and it's a way to pause and then be present in the moment.
Yeah.
I've been practicing meditation for about a year. I've done it off and on for many years, but I've been really trying to be intentional about meditation, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts. And heard a lot of successful athletes, successful people who meditate in the morning. That's not for me. I get up and I've got to go. Affirmations, something that is more upbeat is better for me in the morning. Yeah. But where I started with meditation, and I think you have to give yourself permission, just like with yoga. I've often heard, one side of your body is going to be more flexible than the other. There are going to be days when you can do more with your right side than your left.
I joke, I call that my dumb side.
Your dumb side, yeah. And it
true,
might
though.
switch, right?
Yeah.
It could potentially switch. I think a lot of us have a stronger side than
Yeah.
the other. But so in addition to that, you have to also understand that on given days you will be able to get into a pose or you won't be, or on given days you will not be able to meditate like you want to because you just you fight it so much. I've had this experience where I just can't get quiet. I can't I can't still the thoughts because of whatever's happened that day. But I will tell you that meditation has meant more to me in the last year of just trying to figure out where life is taking me.
Yeah.
It has been, I'm going to not get emotional, but it truly has been sort of life-changing because there are times when I sit really still and you can feel the energy around you. You can feel, I think that's why I'm starting to get emotional because I know that this energy is helping me answer whatever question I'm posing to it. I also heard it, and I mentioned this before we got started, I heard it described as when you pray, you are asking for something, and when you meditate, you are listening for an answer. A lot of people set an intention for their meditation. A lot of people add Sanskrit or whatever. There's, like you said, there's so many layers.
Yep.
But I encourage you, if you have not especially if you're struggling with something, just sit down and find a place where it's quiet and you can be with yourself and just your thoughts. And I think that's the mistake so many of us make today is that we just have so much going on and the world is so busy and we have so many people depending on us that we don't take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to just be.
And give yourself permission to feel to have all the thoughts. Like, and I always tell people like, and if you need my permission, I give you permission to have all the thoughts. The thoughts are just a part of you. They're not good or bad. They just are. And so the point to the medication is getting those thoughts acknowledging that they are part of us, good, bad, or the other, they just are, breathing in and then doing what you want with it, like taking control of those thoughts. So like if you need my permission, I give you permission.
Right? Yeah.
Permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are some of the other classes that you guys offer at your studios that are a little different?
Oh yes. So we use our studio as an event space a lot. So coming up, we have a sound healing. So that's been really popular and really fun. We do that every 2 months. We have it's 2 women that come in, and they come in with gongs. They're specific frequency gongs, crystal bowls, and they have like it's incredible. They have so many of these really lovely instruments. And what it is it's washing you in the sound. So vibrations, the idea behind it, if you want like a more sciencey take, is that like vibrations create change. So like if we put like sand in like a jar and we subject it to a specific frequency, the sand forms like a image, right? Like to that each frequency causes the sand to like form in different ways. So we know that vibrations, frequency, and sound cause effects on physical objects. So like the jump is, well, what does it do to our body? And what do certain frequencies do to our bodies, and what we're made up of? And so it's washing you in the sound, and she guides you through meditation and breath work through it. And it's a really very like relaxing, very inward experience. And so you don't like, it doesn't, I think there's a lot of like misconceptions that you have to be super hippie woo to really enjoy these things. And that's not really the case. It's a very personal journey, so you can attach the journey to whatever philosophy lives in your heart. I think that's the most important thing to recognize. And so it's a really nice way to get really inward. Some people have that somatic release where they have that big wash of emotion. We just wrap you up in a little blanket, and like you just sit there nice and cozy, and like and it's really lovely. And so that's one of the things is the sound baths that we do. We also do like workshops, so healthy bone and joints. We partnered with Jamie Sphere. She's gonna be so mad at me. Sorry. Where we do like mobility and healthy joints, and like she talks about how yoga can help through yoga therapy, and like she's an expert in the field. So it's been really great having her come in and do these workshops. We've also done yoga nidras, which is like more of the mantra and like philosophy of yoga, and a little education about like, so like the things that scare people away are things like nidras and yamas and niyamas, and really it's just the philosophy of yoga. And I always kind of joke that like the tenets of yoga is just like, don't steal, don't lie. Like if I was going to write a book in 10 years, the name of that book would be Yoga, the Art of Not Being a Dick.
And it sounds like as grade schoolers and high schoolers, we need to read your book.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
To create more good humans.
More good humans.
World.
Yes. Because like yoga's a philosophy. It's a way of like kind of understanding ourselves and like being kind and mindful as we walk through the world. So whether that is through the physical practice of like doing yoga, our breath work, or just going out and interacting in the world, just like being good, being kind. And so we do little workshops kind of talking about those things that people can pop in. And we have like, so this Thursday, so this will be after or before this airs, is we're doing a summer block party where we have local vendors, we have artists that come in, and we offer our space up to workshops. So we have lots of really cool stuff.
That's awesome.
And where is your storefront located?
So we are located at 2900 South Fremont, Suite D. So it's Fremont and Battlefield. We're kind of like in that old Sears parking lot area, facing Fremont.
Okay. Know exactly where you are.
Yes.
And can someone take just a class, or whatever?
So,
you probably have membership or whatever.
We have membership, so we have an intro offer that we have. It's unlimited for 3 weeks for $35.
Oh, wow.
So you can take as many classes as you want. Drop-in classes are normally $20.
Okay.
Sneaky, if you're watching this podcast, use promo code FREE, just the word free, and you can take your first class for free.
Awesome.
You've never been.
Listen up, people.
Yeah.
I came with promo codes.
That's awesome.
That's great. As we're trying to wrap up here, I have one last question, because I use I didn't prep you for this, so you may or may not. But if they're looking for an app, like I use Insight Timer, it
okay.
gives me daily meditation. It gives me some daily affirmations. It's got music that I do yoga to, that kind of thing. Do you have any other recommendations like that?
So I don't have I don't have an app that I use, but there's a really good book called The Meditations on the Mat.
Okay.
It's just single, like it's one meditation concept a day from different people and like different yoga experiences. And it so I actually read it for my yoga teacher training, but I still keep it in my office because it's really great. I just open it up and there's usually just like a little glimmer, like. And they're sometimes short, really short. Sometimes they're a couple pages long, a little story.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice place to start, especially it's designed and aimed at like the yoga meditation side. And
Got
it's
it.
a really
That's-
good book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great recommendation.
Great.
Yeah.
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 Well, this has been great.
Yeah.
I've learned
Yeah.
so much from you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I'm going to come to your studio.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Gershman Mortgage for hosting us as usual, and thank Jenny from Precision Wellness. Go see her. Go visit her studio.
Yeah. And thank you for taking time to listen to us. We appreciate you.
See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Simply Authentic podcast. Be sure to hit follow so that you can see each episode as it pops up weekly.